Well, what's up, y'all? So, welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Guitar videos. We're going to get a little more technical. You know, we're doing this whole series on recording and DAWs and interfaces and all that kind of stuff, but I figured I would take a quick break from that this week. So go ahead and subscribe if you want to keep catching up on that video. And actually, this is going to be a series of videos too. We're not going to be able to get it all into one. So go ahead and subscribe. That would be killer. So here's what we're going to do. Today, we're going to do a back-to-back test. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. This is a Dylan Custom Guitars Inspire Series Tele that I built with kind of that G.E. Smith sort of vibe to it with the short Wilkinson compensated bridge. And I got to thinking, let's go ahead and just get another full-size ashtray bridge and do a back-to-back test of the difference between the two. How does it sound with the pickup hard mounted in the body versus the Telecaster ashtray bridge? These saddles are different, so I'm going to actually use those saddles. So we're going to go before and after. The only thing that's going to change is from the half bridge to the full bridge. Same saddles, same everything. Same strings. Well, I'm going to put new strings on it, but same strings, same everything. Nothing else is going to change except for full to half and the pickup mounting. So let's go ahead and whip this thing apart. All right, so we went ahead and installed the ashtray bridge. Now I have to go and do a whole nother setup, obviously. Measure the scale and blah, 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 blah. So I'm gonna go do all that, not bore you with that right now. We do have some other videos about that though. We'll put a link to how to do all this setup, and then we'll come in here and we'll record the second part. Okay, so it's done. Before we get started on this, I will tell you, you might want to subscribe and hang around for the next couple videos, because this isn't the only experiment that I'm going to do on this guitar. So we got brass compensated saddles in here now. I also was thinking about doing a video where we compare saddle materials, one right after the other. I'm going to literally buy a stack of guitar strings, and we're just going to go one right after the other, right after the other, right after the other, and do like a blind test and see if you can tell which one is which. Brass, so I actually got the Graph Tech ones. I got brass over here, I got aluminum, I got steel, and I got some titanium. This is going to be really interesting. So I haven't seen a video quite like this. So in the next couple weeks, you're going to see that one pop up as well. So you might want to hit the subscribe button. So let's get into this. So let's go ahead and have you listen to one clean tone, then another clean tone, then a driven tone, then another driven tone. And I want you to tell me in the comments, I'm not going to tell you which one is which. And I want you to tell me in the comments which one you think has the shorty bridge versus the full bridge, with the hard mount pickup versus the bridge mount pickup. All right, so I was about to tell you which one was which, and I thought, you know, that would be too easy. Because you could just say, oh yeah, well that's what I thought. So I'm going to split this up. In the next video, I'm going to tell you which one was which. Because I want you to put in the comments which one you think was the short bridge versus the long bridge. Sample 1, sample 2 for the cleans, sample 3, sample 4 for the dirty. And you tell me which one you think is the short bridge and which one you think is the long and why. Put it in the comments and we will chat about it next week because I think that's only fair. Too many of these videos give everything up in one and then everybody says, well, that's what I thought it was anyway. That's what I was going to say. This might be a little more realistic. So that's what we're going to do. You go back and listen to that again. Comment. Let me know which one you think which is which. And we'll talk about it next week. Let's go over some of your comments from a couple of videos. It's been pretty good. All right, let's go over some viewer comments. Now, of course, there was tons of stuff about the Gibson thing and the letter and all that kind of stuff. But we've got some actual kind of techie questions that I want to answer as well. So we're going to deal with one Gibson question. Dan May says, I think quote unquote creative collaboration may mean attempts to work with some manufacturers on licensing agreements similar to Fender licensed necks. Look at this letter as a lawyer and written clarification. I hope so. I really hope so. Like, I hope that they do want to move ahead. I think licensing is a great idea. Exactly like the neck thing. I think it's a great idea. License the body shape. Take a little cut off of every one, sort of like an endorsement deal almost. It's a licensing deal. Do it, man. I think it's a great idea. All right, let's see. Number 2. I'm not sure if a couple of people in the comments lately have been like trolling me or actually asking these questions, so I apologize if it sounds a little disrespectful when I answer. I don't mean to sound that way. But somebody really challenged me with this, and I'm not sure. Short equals open circuit, meaning a break in the path. No, it doesn't. And then he made another comment about stop calling it a short because it's not a short. A short is when you have a path straight to ground with no resistance. An open is a break in the circuit. His other comment was about that being a short. It's not. A short is when you have a path straight to ground with no resistance. An open is when you have no circuit at all, when there is a break in it somewhere. So just to clarify that, and I'm not sure if you're like trolling me a little bit with this or what, I wasn't really sure. But if you're not, I hope we have cleared that up. Let's see. Next, we've got, in which polarity, Haney says, in which polarity do you have to solder the capacitor in the guitar? Regular capacitors that you use in a guitar, you don't have to worry about polarity. Electrolytic capacitors in some active circuits that you use for filters and stuff, you have to worry about those, but polarity, but you don't use those typically in a guitar. So your normal ceramic capacitors, your normal orange drops, paper and oil, all that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about polarity. That's only for an electrolytic type, which just doesn't apply here. And then this is another one where I was just kind of curious. I don't know if he's trying to troll me or not. We were talking about pickup construction. And he says, Rohat, I don't know how to say her name, I'm sorry. Larger gauge wire has lower resistance and less of it will create more output than a smaller gauge wire with more turns and much higher resistance. Okay, this is an interesting one to unpack. because overall this statement is actually incorrect. But I can understand why he would say this and where there might be a misunderstanding here, because many people don't look at this correctly. So larger gauge wire has a lower resistance. Yes, that is true. And less of it will create more output than a smaller gauge wire with more turns and much higher resistance. Okay. When we're talking about a transducer, a coil in your pickup, the more wire that's on there, regardless, no matter what, whether it's small gauge or large gauge, the more coil that's there, the more winds, is going to create more voltage than less, because of how inductance works. Okay, provided nothing else changes. But just when there's more wire on there, it's going to create more inductance, which is going to create more voltage. Now, thinner versus thicker is a whole different story. And so thinner wire, you're able to fit more winds on there and you'll be able to create a lot more voltage. The problem is that starts to shave off frequencies that were there before. So a higher K of pickup can sound like it's got less output because it's like muted, if you will, because you're cutting out some high frequencies. In actuality, it's probably got more output on a meter, but frequency response is narrowed, so it sounds quieter, if that makes sense. So electrically, more winds, smaller gauge wire is going to create more voltage every time. However, he is sort of, so when he says that a larger gauge wire with lower resistance, less of it will create more output, that can be possible to the ear. So this is why personally I like lower output pickups. I like a 7.6K neck pickup, for instance, humbucker, because I like less output, because the frequency response and the dynamic range of it is wider. And so you have kind of more to work with there, and those higher frequencies and some other frequencies and how it interacts with the mid-range has not been kind of shaved off and muddied up. So you can, and so this is where going by how many K a pickup is for how hot it is totally inaccurate. Because I can make a 7.6 Alnico 5 humbucker that's louder and makes more volume output than somebody else's higher output pickup by resistance only, because of the way I do it. So it's a completely inaccurate way to measure the output of a pickup. So that's why you have to kind of get to know your pickup builder, ask questions, understand how it all works, and hopefully he's willing to have this conversation with you so that you can get the right thing for your guitar. Because if you just go by the numbers on the website, you may not be right. In fact, many times you won't be. So this was an interesting question, and I'm glad that he asked it, because this shows how inaccurate people that normally go by how many K a pickup is to understand how much output it has, why that's wrong. Very cool. Very cool question. Thanks for that. Stay tuned, because our next video is going to reveal the results of this test we just did. And then I also have coming up the whole saddle thing. So it's going to be really fun. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.